All right, now I want to talk about the video game industry a little bit. Something about that I have seen a tweet. Like I still can't get over the fact that we have to call it X, but whatever. It's tweet for me, Twitter for me. Anyway, I've seen a tweet about something about the state of game industry, and it's kind of shocking, sad, unfortunate, and made me think about certain kind of things that I want to talk about. It says a new survey shows that 44% of video game developers are thinking about leaving the game industry. Like, can you believe this? Like, almost half of the video game developers are not happy. And I think this kind of survey is done among the corporate, big AAA kind of video game companies. I don't think that this kind of surveys are going to go around and ask indie game developers like us. And it says North America has seen the most video game industry layoffs by far, especially in the United States and California. Roughly 61% of all layoffs since the big wave began in 2022 has been in North America and California. That's unbelievable numbers, and I really want to, tell a few things about what I really think about this, because this is going to be a kind of, maybe it's going to create some kind of an indie apocalypse, which I want to discuss. But at the same time, it's very sad, and especially I was really affected by the big layoffs last week, 2 weeks ago. I think it happened with the Epic Games, which I've been using Unreal Engine. I've been following Epic Games for a long time, and I've seen so many more unbelievably talented people at Epic Games, and like I can't imagine the number of like 1,000 people being laid off, even from this kind of seemingly profitable companies. This is just unbelievable. And yes, and also at the end of this tweet, there is this kind of remark which says 76% of UK, United Kingdom developers are thinking about leaving the industry. And like, what are you going to do? Like, when you just leave the industry, it's like, is everything good with the software businesses? Is everything good with the advertising businesses? Like, what kind of video game developer will be happy in any kind of environment? This is what we have to think about as well. It's just that video game developers are not there to, do some kind of coding work or just the design work. It's just like the culture of video games is just completely different. Like, I don't think that any kind of video game developer who was happy, a little bit happy in his or her job, would be completely happy but just switching the careers, which seems like inevitable at this point. But that's a whole kind of shocking thing. And at the same time, I want to talk about something, there's a little bit of double standard that nobody's really talking about this, because it's just like, that's the headline. But when this is just like developers of the corporate world, like when there is a indie developer just fails, it happens all the time. It's not even a news, it's not even a footnote. Like when a studio like Iron Galaxy cuts like 90 people 2 days ago, the whole industry tweets and talks about these condolences. But when an indie developer shuts down after a certain amount of time, after just putting all this energy and spirituality and put all the savings, self-funding, and face all kinds of backlash from the family members and everyone else, and when they shut down, everyone says, I told you so. So I really find this a little bit ironic, and this is really risky to me, and there's a word for this. It's just not just unfairness, but it's a hierarchy of sympathy, if you know what I mean. And indie developers are at the bottom of it, which is kind of inevitable. And the corporate layoffs, I get an instant LinkedIn repost, industry reports, game developer conference panels. Like, indie failures gets a silent and a judgment most of the time, because this whole "I told you so" culture feels so much cruel to me. Like this, and in the industry, and nobody really addresses because when you fail as an indie, you're not just failing as a project, because people around you feel validated and not sorry about it, and they should always try to criticize you, like saying that you should have never quit your job and in the first place, because being an indie developer doesn't sound like a business to so many people. It feels like an adventure. But now here is the dilemma. Like, most of these video game developers that are being laid off in thousands of numbers some of them are going to start up indie development houses. I'm not really worried about that. It's going to be some kind of a competition for me as an indie developer. I'm just welcome. I believe this game industry has a place for everyone. So I don't even consider it as a competition. I don't think that it's a bad thing. It's just a good thing. But at the same time, coming from a corporate background and becoming an indie developer, it's not going to be an easy task. We have been in the guerrilla trenches, we've been fighting, and it's just survival is so difficult as an indie developer. And when you have the umbrella of a AAA company, it's something else. But now everyone will be trying to compete with the same kind of very limited VC funding, and everyone will be competing for the very limited shelf spaces that indie developers are allowed. So it's going to be kind of very rough years, and rough times are going to be expecting us. So I have no idea what's going to happen. We'll see. Anyway, and also as an indie developer, you take bigger risk, I believe, and this shows that you have like more courage. At the same time, you get less compassion, but it doesn't really make sense. Like when it's just also not happening to indie developers, it's also happening to the indie publishers, which is like the small companies with the guts to release weird, risky titles that these big companies will never bother even publishing. Yes, some of them are like, horrible titles, but because they are taking the big risk. When an indie publisher goes bankrupt in like 2026, it barely makes news, but trust me, so many of these 1A, AA, I don't like this, labeling of A's, but you get the idea. Like AA companies, AA publishers are just really going in really rough times. I can feel it from their console releases, from their Steam releases, because these are the people who gave chance to, nobody else was giving chance to. Every indie publisher that takes a dozen time with it, that you will never get to play. That's a cultural loss, and then nobody really frames it. You can say that we don't need your cultural input, which is okay, which is understandable, but at the same time, I don't think that the industry is really ready for this kind of apocalyptic sense of mass layoffs. Like something has to change. In the development scene will change. Game development technologies will be affected. Software development as a service, as they call it, will be affected. And this is like a very uncomfortable truth, I believe so. Like, there is this, yes, every job loss is painful. Nobody should be celebrated. That's like full stop. But let's be honest about what's happening. Like some of these companies cutting jobs, not just because they are struggling, because they are crazy about this profit margin. Like, what do you expect? Like, it's a corporate entity. Just because they are making games, it's some kind of creative culture. It doesn't stop them from being a corporate culture. Like, they are crazy about profit margins. They are going to do their best to increase their profit margin. That's the nature of their business. And AI is maybe just a easy scapegoat at this kind of stage, but I don't think that they will never miss a chance to make this kind of mass layoff. So, I'm not going to argue about like, is AI going to take our jobs or not? That's not even the point of this, conversation or whatever. But the point is, the corporate companies, whether be them a software company, streaming company, a publishing company, this and that, it doesn't really matter. If it's a corporate company, it has to be focusing on the profit margin. So you're just a number in their Excel sheet, nothing more. So in the first chance, they are going to take you out. That's just inevitable. And also me as an indie dev, who's someone who look at this industry, layoffs, the oversaturation, the broken discovery, zero safety net, and I said like I'm doing it anyway. So I think, in my opinion, in my very, very humble opinion, despite all of this stuff, we're still going with this route, and I think we really deserve some kind of respect. Even if we don't get the respect, we will continue making these games because that's what we enjoy. But if you know an indie developer who failed, please reach out to them. Just don't lecture to them, because it's the same as being laid off. Like, it's just you're being self-employed and your game doesn't do any kind of good numbers, so you're just kind of lost. And it's the same. The indie developers say, I believe, share the same sympathy that someone being laid off from a big company. So when a big studio closes, like the industry mourns, and when an indie developer shut down, the team is shut down, nobody even notices. That's just the part that keeps them up at night. So yeah, you've seen the tweet. Like 40% of the game developers want to leave, but you know who can't leave indies, because we already left it in the back of our careers. Like, we wanted to go in this field, so we can't go back. The game industry doesn't have a layoff problem. I think they have a respect problem, especially with this whole, toxic cultures that being plagued with everywhere. So when every indie developer who fails hears the same sentence from somebody they love, like, I told you so, you shouldn't have risked this job, you shouldn't go back, you should go back to your safety job. Like, when a AAA developer lays thousands they can become indie developers. So, and it's going to be kind of, I'm not going to tell them that, okay, welcome here. Like, not everyone will become an indie developer. Not everyone can survive this whole guerrilla style of fighting in the trenches, because somebody will sooner or later want to feel the safety of a big company. But some of these indie developers who laid off will become indie developers, and it's going to be really tough that when they, because it's instead of feeling this whole sympathy, they might feel they will realize that some of the a big portion of the industry is very unsympathetic towards indie developers, And I also want to I don't want to sound bitter about it. I just want to just talk about it. There's nothing bitterness from me. I will just, after I record this, I will go back to, Unreal engineering, Unreal editing, whatever that. I'm going to fight with all this, optimization things, the blueprints, and the whole simple business side of indie game development, which is kind of like half of my time goes to running up and setting up the company, because it's that after all, we're just a legal entity. And all this paperwork, like publishing on consoles, 3 different platforms, plus Steam, and optimization, doing the coding, doing the design, and everything else, it's just come down so overwhelming. But I am not even complaining about it. I just wanted to state the facts that sometimes we don't get the sympathy maybe we just kind of little bit deserve. And that's all I wanted to say about this. And really, I've been really sad to see people with amazing CVs are being laid off. This is just insane. Yes, they deserve every kind of respect. They deserve every kind of support, and it's going to be kind of shocking to them to just be out of job for a long time, because they are kind of get used to these paychecks. So they're not kind of used to living in the dark. But at the same time, I just wanted to say a little bit facts about how to survive as an indie developer and indie publisher. Every day there are being kind of equivalent of layoffs in the world of indie game development. That's all I wanted to say. So see you around. I'm going back to the world of indie game development.